Legends, with Starfield out the way, the next hate train seems to be coming to Forza Motorsport 8, or Forza Motorsport as it's now been rebranded with the reboot. But it doesn't seem like the media critics are actually following suit this time. Surprise, surprise, it is expected that after the fiasco that was the Starfield user rating, they won't be doing that this time. Because let's face it, especially with Forza Motorsport, the ratings have generally been quite high, with Forza Horizon 5 being 90 plus. I believe it was like 92 on the meta. I don't like meta, but it is what it is. But there is a lot to get through in this video, so I thought I'd quickly jump straight in. And with this first one that you're seeing on screen right now, I wanted to show what the rest of 2023 has to show for Xbox. So as you can see here, Starfield has already come out. You've got Payday 3 still to come, Lies of P, Party Animals, if you like that sort of game, is going to be cool. I don't know what the Lamplighter League is. Warhammer Darktide, I played this on PC. Really fun game, really cool, especially if you've got a bunch of friends. Forza Motorsport, do I need to say more? City Skyline 2, if that is your thing. Jusant, Thirsty Suitors, Persona 5 Tactica, for those SRPG fans, and of course, SteamWorld Build. And of course he says this is without the Activision Blizzard deal, so there's still quite a bit to go through in 2023. So this one here I wanted to just briefly talk about because Phil Spencer said in a video that releasing 11 out of 10 games will not shift Xboxes. And he couldn't be more wrong, because we've seen, at least in the UK, on the UK like console sales charts, Xbox Series consoles has shifted around 76% more than they normally would have had. And that's just in the 2-week period. It's been their most successful period for the whole year. So can Forza Motorsport replicate that? And if it does, this could be a trend that Microsoft is actually going to want to maintain, because it's clearly showing that releasing 11 out of 10 games will shift consoles. Now, will it get you to go and sell PlayStations like he said people wouldn't be doing that? Well, clearly we've seen that people were selling their PlayStation 5s and going to buy Series X or Series S consoles in order to play Starfield. Because, let's face it, selling your PS5 or Series console is not going to buy you a PC. But it's good to see that this is actually happening, and that Phil was actually wrong in this occasion, and that, releasing banger games, as they call it nowadays, is actually a good thing and will shift the consoles. Now this one over here is a good one. This one's a tasty one, because as you can see, Dan here, who reviewed Starfield, this is super impressive, but I have to wonder why my carrying capacity doesn't go up on low gravity planets and down on high gravity planets. It's measured in mass. Now this test over here, top planet has a 0.91 gravity and the bottom one with a 0.36 gravity. Now there is no sound, but you can clearly see the difference in the actual speed here on the top and bottom. You can see like the top one, CO2, is maxing way quicker. And the fact that he didn't know this is quite shocking, right? For someone who's reviewing it and questioning why this is not the case and why this doesn't exist, I think it's pretty awful. I think it's pretty embarrassing for someone of his caliber, who calls himself a professional, reviewing a game and doesn't even check and test the fundamentals such as this and just outright writes them off. Shame on you, Dan. Shame on you. Okay, well, this one over here is even worse than Dan. I think Dan was holding the pedestal for quite some time, but this guy, he played Starfield for 30 minutes and said game is too little sci-fi and too much fantasy. I mean, within the first 30 minutes, I don't think you make it out of the underground cave. You're still in there after everything is happening with how the game starts. I think you might have met Barrett by that point, maybe? I don't even think you'll have got to that point. I think you'll still be in the shootout. Like, what did he play for 30 minutes? This is what constitutes to a review? Sheesh! Alright, this one over here, Metro. Yeah, I know, the Starfield news is coming to an end, don't worry, because we're going to be talking a lot about Forza Horizon next. And there's, of course, one piece of other news that I want to cover, but that one's actually quite important, so that's going to come after this. But this is them giving a 6 out of 10, right? And he says, wait, they already planned giving it a 6 out of 10 before even beating it. And this is here, right? For everyone out there that says that the Metro was not biased in this review, I want you to apologize, because this is insane, right? Thanks to Bethesda, it's still going to be a number of days before we can offer a full scored review of Starfield. But that's not just because it takes a long time to beat it. Starfield is one of those games where the list of issues is long and obvious, and yet there's still something in the core concept that allows the game to transcend its failings. What he's saying there is, the game has some shortfalls, and I think we can all agree on that, right? But he's saying that the positives just completely and totally outweigh, transcend those negatives to just make them not that big of an issue. The game, where it excels so much that those issues can be forgiven and just, talked about and maybe critiqued a little bit, but the good just completely outweighs the bad. We are enjoying it more now than we did in its opening hours. I mean, that's the more you put into this game, the more you're going to get. But once we get to the full review, we still can't imagine giving it any higher than a 6 out of 10. So before they even reviewed this game, they already decided that they were going to give this game a 6 out of 10. Before they even actually got to the point of reviewing it. They spent like a couple of hours and they said, you know what? Or even before they actually even picked up the game. It's crazy that the Metro would do this. And then people turn around and say, oh, people are going after these publications because they gave a bad review, but we so dumb because we are stupid. The reality is, it's right there. They basically said, we didn't even have to play the game. We were happily going to give it a 6 out of 10. It could have been the greatest game on the planet. We would still have given it a 6 out of 10. That's disgraceful. And the fact that Metacritic, of all, allowed this to go through, and this is why I said at the beginning of the video, Metacritic's a waste of time, and I don't think anyone should look at it, because of this. Because of stuff like this, and because of stuff like Jim Quisition, who gave it a 4, because of his feud with Bethesda, nothing to do with the game. And clearly these guys over here, this idiot David Jenkins, giving it a 6 out of 10 because of what? Without even playing the game? Clearly the bias is there, right? I don't know. But people like this should not be allowed to review. People like this should be fired. Yeah, I'm saying it. They should be fired. But that's not an objective review. There's subjectivity involved, right? You may like a game or not like a game. And that's perfectly okay. But going in and saying, I'm going to give this a 6 whether I like it or not, is the biggest BS move you can make. Now, this one here is actually crazy. Unity pretty much just turned around and said, we don't want our customers to actually be available. We don't want customers anymore. We don't want anyone using Unity to develop anything. We think our platform is so bad that we are going to now introduce some of these changes that will absolutely make you not want to use our platform. So, as it stands right now, if you make $200,000 and there are 200,000 downloads, any time a Unity game is started up on your PC, Steam Deck, console, anywhere, the developers will be charged a fee for that. But not only that, if a player, let's say you installed the game, and then you delete the game because you needed hard drive space, but you came back and said, hey, I want to play this game again, and you reinstall it, that's 2 installs. And if that's past the 200,000 overall global total, that's 2 charges. So not only are they going to get charged for your first install, but now they're getting charged for your second install. But you've bought the game retail. For consumers, this does nothing. And as I say, same if they install on 2 devices. Now, Jez here says, players could spam, install, and reinstall a game to bankrupt a dev under Unity's new system. I'm sure this won't be abused at all. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is crazy. I mean, think of all the people that pirate games. You could also hurt him when you pirate a Unity game. They're not even paying for the game, and now the developers, because you're playing a pirated version of a Unity game, has to pay for that. This is basically saying you need to put the strictest DRM into your games like de novo, which can't be cracked, or if it has been cracked, it run not very well, in every single game going forward. Or people just need to stop using Unity. This is awful. This is absolutely awful. This, like, Unity have lost their mind. Like and they also say, like, charity games and bundles are exempt. How do you know what's for charity and what's not? Where do you make this decision? I could be hosting a charity party at home for a gaming session. How do they know that what I'm doing right now is for a charity or not? I mean, this is crazy. They've basically turned around to Unreal Engine and said, "Hey, Unreal, the oyster is yours. The ocean is yours. We're out of this game because the only way we can make money now is by ripping developers off." This basically means that indie developers are out of the picture. PlayStation Plus, Game Pass, gone instantly. These developers can't afford to put their games onto Game Pass. With Game Pass being the way it is, encouraging people to download these games, to try them out, to see if they like them. Sure, the developers are going to get some bit of money for it, but if the game is super successful and it gets like 5 million downloads, for example, let's just say like Starfield got 6 million on day one. Unless these developers have to factor that in now to PlayStation Plus and Game Pass deals, it's not going to work. Like, what is this stupidity? This is really dumb. Really, really dumb. And I really hope Unity go back and change this, because if they don't, there's a bunch of indie devs that pretty much built their whole studio on Unity. They will now have to retrain onto something else. And if they can't, they're going to shut down. There's no two ways about it. And these platforms, rely on PS Plus at times, on Game Pass, to actually push their game to a wider audience. What then? GOG also won't allow this sort of thing on their platform. They have to be DRM free. This puts a tracker onto every single Unity game when it's booted up to send it back to their servers. What then? GOG won't allow it, so they lose the ability to publish under GOG as well. This is a massive, this is a really big and bad mistake by Unity. I really hope they change it, because this is going to affect a lot of studios in a really, really bad way. And ultimately, if it goes this way, I really, really hope that developers just completely and utterly boycott it, because those 5 shareholders inside going, "Oh, think of all the money we're going to make." And when they make absolutely nothing and they try to change their minds and no one comes back and they lose everything, that's when I want the whole world in tech to turn around and laugh at them and say, this is what greediness gets you. This is what stupidity gets you. This is bad. This is really, really bad. I feel sorry for those devs who, spent years perfecting these tools and creating tools so they can make these games, only to now be told that if I pirate a game and I boot it up, you have to pay for that license. That's atrociously dumb. Well, moving on to some better news. Forza Motorsport. We've got the performance here. We've got Xbox Series X performance 60 FPS at 4K. We've got performance with ray tracing at 60 FPS at 4K. This will likely drop the resolution down to 1080p. We have quality ray tracing at 4K 30 FPS. And for the Series S, we have performance 60 FPS at 1080p and quality 30 at 1080p. Now, of course, we come to the PC destined here with the Clutch Ultra 60 FPS, high recommended, medium, and low minimum. You've got 4K here, 1440p. That's pretty much the resolution I play my games at anyway. So yeah, this looks pretty sweet, pretty good. Note, players can turn on ray tracing on high, recommended in race, but it's turned off by default. So you can turn it on if you want to, but I mean, it should run perfectly fine with it on if you have a good enough graphics card. Really good stuff. So, more good news coming towards Forza Motorsport. Hands-on preview. Forza Motorsport has the potential to be this generation's best racer. That is pretty sweet, right? This is actually nice to hear an Xbox game being so well received, and these are preview hands-on, which is cool. They did only have access to the tutorial, but even then, that is actually pretty good. John Lennon here. The new foliage makes a huge difference in the new Forza. Can also confirm they are using entirely new textures for the tracks. What do you think? And as you can see, that looks pretty nice, right? Looks really, really nice. Of course, no Xbox game is complete without some hate coming along your way. And as you can see here, John Lennon said, I had fun pushing the damage physics systems in Forza. You can absolutely flip other cars by driving into them at full speed, and cars do show reasonable damage. Obviously, it's not burnout. And Abdo Tarek here says, the hate for this game has been unreal. It really has. I mean, I've been seeing some of the most stupidest things, as you're about to see in a minute, where people have been completely trying to rip Forza Motorsport apart by saying GT7 is superior. Both are good games. I just don't get the need for it. I don't get the necessity for it. But the general consensus has been for a while now that Forza has been ahead of Gran Turismo for quite a bit. Every reply under every tweet or video, YouTube is tearing it apart. And John says it happened with Gran Turismo 7, unfortunately. Fans of one game spent all their time attacking the other. It did happen. It's real dumb. They're both really good games. But it looks like Forza Motorsport might be the king of all racing games. Again, we go back to VGC. Forza Motorsport has the potential to be this generation's best racer. And you can see here, makes it easy to forget it's been some time since the so-called main Forza series has had a new release. Although the brand always feels present and accounted for, the Forza Motorsport series used to get a new game every 2 years. It's now been 6 since the last entry. Forza Sport 7 arrived on Xbox One. In that time, we've had 2 new Forza Horizon games, 2 new Gran Turismos, and a bunch of other realistic racing titles, all competing for pole position. Pretty cool stuff, and it's nice to see that the game is getting the attention and credit it deserves, because Forza has generally always been top tier in my eyes. And despite people complaining about the previous game that Playground made, I think their specialty has always been racing games, so this should pretty much come as no surprise to people. Again, you've got the game-changing stories, Forza Motorsport hands-on preview, a career mode with welcome layers of strategy and risk. Now, a lot of people were saying that, when it comes to Starfield, there was no real consequences for this happening. Like, you'd get a slap on your wrist as the cross. I'm looking at you. I think you're absolutely partially right, but not totally right. I think you're quite wrong in some places. But now you've got the strategy and the risk. Let's see if their views will change. Probably they're going to say, oh, this is just a racing game. No one cares. But this one actually was quite funny. Can't wait for Dan to review Forza and say, feels like a step back in terms of scope. Going from open world to a more track-by-track basis is something I didn't see coming for the series. 7 out of 10. Followed up with a Twitter space explaining the score. And there's me going, dude, yeah, you're most likely right. I was listening to one of the IGN podcasts, and one of the guys was like, if you don't agree with his score, then read the review and the words will convince you. Like, what? Alright, so PlayStation fans for the longest time have been saying, well, Starfield is 30 FPS, right? And, the fact that it didn't offer a 60 FPS option, PlayStation offers options, and that's the difference between Xbox and PlayStation. But now options are bad, because this guy, Nicola, which many of you may recognize, he's now saying that options are bad because GT7 offers 120 FPS option. You can see here that you've got 4K 30, you've got 4K 60, and 4K 60 with ray tracing. And he's now bemoaning that the fact that with ray tracing it drops down to 1080p, that's an issue. Mate, PlayStation games are dropping down to 720p. I'm pretty sure they're dropping below that at some point just to maintain that 60 FPS. What are you on about? My dude is high on something. And now he's saying GT opted to have 1080p 120. Mate, you guys have been crying for ray tracing forever. And now you're turning around and saying that, oh, we don't want ray tracing no more. But I like this one best. preview of Forza Motorsport are in, and car model paint job aren't touching GT7. Next gen only game still can't match cross gen game. And he's basically just showing probably one of the worst caught footages of the game, as you know, as you would expect people to do. VGC disagrees. Obviously, one of the first things that struck us about the new Forza is just how good it looks. This is a serious contender to the title of best looking racing game of all time. And while we have no doubt the Forza vs Gran Turismo arguments will swamp social media upon the game's October 10 release, on its own merits, the Xbox exclusive looks extraordinarily detailed. With a month to go then, the signs are promising. This has been 3 times longer than Turn 10 has ever spent between Forza Motorsport releases, and the short taster we've had so far has us itching to get our hands on the final product to see how the extra development time has been spent. This could just be the racing game of this generation. Time will tell. Obviously, it's just a preview, right? So we don't know yet, but it's quite funny. But this is the hill that PlayStation fans do want to know. Because what are PlayStation fanboys thinking? GT7 is a disgrace. I disagree. I think it's actually it's a good racing game. It's a good sim, and it pretty much continues and doesn't innovate. I'm not sure how much more you can innovate with a racing game in the racing genre for this. I can't believe they even have the nerve to compare this to Forza. Okay, that part I agree with, because I do think Forza is just a much better game. And Forza Horizon will always be the best racer. But this is something that they were doing, showing, and I thought basically they're just trying to show the physics. Yo! But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. V-Rally. We're back to V-Rally, baby. I must admit the cars look amazing though, but those physics. Bada bing, 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 biddy bing, 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 biddy bing. But yeah, as you can see there, it is pretty special. But that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Shame on Unity for doing what they're doing, because it's really, really bad and it's going to hurt a lot of indie developers at a time when indie development is actually pushing hard and true and producing some amazing games. Truly amazing games. And even though they're not graphically up there with like some of the best looking games that are on console, the proper AAA games, it doesn't matter, because what they lack in graphical fidelity, they provide ample in other departments to make them stand out. But yeah, make way for the Forza Motorsport hate. It's already started. And with people now complaining that more choice is bad. I mean, first it was no choice is bad and PlayStation supports more choice. And now Xbox has provided even more choice, and now that's bad too. So I actually don't get where the line is. But we will see, right? We will see. But there's so much more coming at the end of between now and the end of the year. It's going to be a wild ride. 2023 has been amazing for games. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much. I absolutely appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Remain legend.